Hello to all my athletes out there in Coach Carr's PE class. Today we're going to be talking about one of the 5 components of fitness. This one is super important because it prevents us from getting injured. And this component of fitness that we're going to be talking about today is flexibility. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to show you some of my favorite stretches that I do every single day. And I totally recommend that you do them too, because your body will feel much better, you will always be loose, and you will prevent yourself from getting injured. So let's see these stretches. What I like to do for my stretching is I like to start from the bottom up, meaning I start with my lower body and I work my way up to my upper body. So the first muscle I'm going to be stretching out is my calves, then we're going to go from calves to hamstrings, then to quads, and then all the way up to hips, and then to my upper body. But first, I'm going to start with calves. So for my calf stretch, what I like to do is I like to get into a push-up position. From this push-up position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a position called downward dog, meaning I'm going to push my hips up into the air, creating a mountain shape with my body. And then from here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to walk it out, meaning I'm going to flatten my feet onto the ground. You can see that my calves are getting stretched right here. I feel a stretch all the way from the back of my knee down to my ankle as I'm walking it out, just like this. Okay, for the next one, we're going to be working on our hamstrings. The hamstrings are the back of your legs. It's super important for when you run that we have loose hamstrings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross my legs just like this. So I just put my right leg in front of my left, and I'm going to hang down to try to touch my toes. Now when I do it this way, I feel it mainly in the back of my left leg because it's in the back right now. So I'm going to hold this position for probably 15 to 20 seconds. Then I'm going to stand tall and I'm going to switch. And I'm going to put my left in front of my right. So now I'm stretching the back of my right leg. I feel it deep in the back of my leg from the back of my knee all the way up to my glutes. Okay, so the next one is the quads. The quads are super important because if you have tight quads, then that could lead to some knee problems and you don't want that. So what you're going to be doing now is, we've done this in class before, but I want you to grab with your left hand, grab your left foot, and then vice versa. I want you to grab with your right hand, your right foot. You're going to hold each position on one single leg like this for like 15 to 20 seconds. You'll feel the stretch all the way from your knee to your hip. All right here, you should feel that stretch on both legs. Okay, so the next one I want to do is my hips. Hips are super important to stretch because if you do anything that picks up your knee, that's always your hip being activated. That's your hip that's pulling your knee up. So we got to make sure that our hips are loose. So what I'm going to do, I moved onto the grass for this one because I'm going to be putting my knee in the ground, and it would be really hard on concrete. That would hurt. So you got to make sure your knee's on something soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be on one knee with my chest tall. I'm not bending forward because then my hip isn't stretching. My chest is up, my back is straight, and all I'm going to do in this position is I'm going to gently lean or shift my body weight forward. Now I started to say lean there, but I'm not leaning. No, I'm shifting my weight. So I'm getting a good stretch in my hip, just like this. I feel it being almost pulled from top to bottom hip. And I even feel it a little bit in my quad. But what I want you to do is I want you to do it on both legs, both your right and your left. Just shift your weight on top of your right or left foot, whichever foot is forward. This next stretch is really important. It's going to be for my lower and middle back. Now the reason why this one is so important is because if you have a tight back, it feels like you can't do anything. But if your back is nice and loose, then your whole body feels good and you will be able to move much more effortlessly. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be sitting on the ground, laying flat. Then I'm going to take one leg and throw it over my body just like that. Now, as my leg goes over, I'm going to try to straighten my arms out so my shoulders are flat against the ground. I feel this all the way down my spinal cord, feeling a good stretch. Now to get even further stretch, you can try to straighten out the leg and you feel it even more in your back. So we're going to do it on one side and then go ahead and try on your other side too. Keep those arms straight across the ground. Have your leg out away from you, just like that. All right, so now that I've done my back, I'm going to move up my body to my shoulders. Now my shoulders are super important because if you're doing anything with your arms, your shoulders are always involved somehow. So we got to make sure we stretch it out. This one is a simple one. All you're going to do is you're going to take one arm, reach it across your body, put your other hand on your forearm right here and pull back gently. I'm not pulling back super hard, but you can notice that my arm, I'm keeping it straight. And the reason for that is because if I were to bend my arm, I would not be stretching my shoulder. But I'm straightening the arm, I'm pulling back, so I feel the stretch in the back of my shoulders right here. So I'm doing it on both my right and my left side. Feeling it in the back of my shoulders. All right, let's go to the final stretch. All right, this final stretch that I like to do is for my chest. Now, that's super important because for any kind of pushing motion or any kind of upper body movement, just like the shoulders, your chest is always involved somehow. So we always have to make sure our chest is loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my forearm straight up into the air. You can see that I have a right angle right here. I'm going to put this arm up against either a door frame or right here I have a pull next to my wetsuit drying. And all I'm going to do once I'm in this position is I'm going to lean forward and I'm going to feel the stretch come down my chest and across, just like this. Now you can do this in a whole bunch of different ways. You can turn your body away from it, just like this, or you can just try to lean into it. There's multiple different ways for you to try to stretch your chest. Now, I want you to do the same thing on your right side too. My wetsuit's still kind of in the way, but that's all right. I'm going to stick my arm up into the air and I'm going to lean into it or turn my body away from it so I can stretch my chest just like this. Okay, now the final thing I like to do to end my stretching, because we're working from the ground up, I like to finish with my neck, because sometimes if I tweak my neck, it feels like I can't move my body at all. So I always like to make sure that my neck is loose too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine that I'm drawing circles in the air with my head. So I'm going to start with my head down, and I'm going to draw circles with my head. Now it's really important that as you're doing this, you're moving nice and slow. You're not forcing any position. So I'm going to do it one way, and I'm also going to do it the other way. You really want to make sure you loosen up that neck because, like I said, if you tweak it, that could hurt and you can be sidelined or removed from other games because you hurt so much. So you got to make sure that you loosen up that neck too. Try these stretches out with a family member. Maybe you can teach them some stretches that they've never done before and they didn't know about. But it's really important that you stretch. Once again, flexibility is one of the 5 components of fitness. So it's really important that we utilize our ability to stretch and loosen up our muscles. I know you're all going to do a great job with this. So I'm excited for you to have all the health benefits that come along with stretching. You got this.